Imagine this 60 seconds that could change your entire life. Just 1 minute of silence, 1 minute of faith, 1 minute where your heart speaks directly to the source of all abundance. No long rituals, no complicated formulas, just a simple, secret prayer that has the power to shift your reality within 24 hours. Most people talk to God with their lips, but very few speak with the full energy of their spirit. What if for the next minute you could align your thoughts, your faith, and your words so perfectly that the universe itself begins to respond? I want you to stay with me until the end of this message, because what you're about to hear isn't theory. It's a revelation of how prayer, when spoken with pure focus and quiet faith, activates unseen forces that bring provision, ideas, and opportunities straight into your path. This is not just about money, it's about unlocking divine flow in every area of your life. You will understand why silence can be more powerful than speech, why a single second of real faith is stronger than hours of empty words, and why, when you believe something can happen in 24 hours, the heavens begin to move immediately on your behalf. So wherever you are right now, take a deep breath, still your thoughts, and open your heart. Listen closely, because if you receive what's about to be shared and you apply it with sincerity, you may never pray the same way again. Stay till the end and you will know how to speak this 60-second prayer that unlocks blessing, peace, and provision faster than you ever imagined. Your miracle may already be waiting for you. It just needs the sound of your faith to begin. The power of a focused prayer is one of the most profound spiritual principles that transcends religion, culture, and time. A focused prayer is not measured by its duration or eloquence, but by the level of attention, faith, and emotional alignment behind it. When someone prays for 60 seconds with undivided attention, those moments can become a spiritual ignition point that sends a clear signal into the divine realm. In that concentrated space of time, the heart and mind unite in purpose, forming an energy that resonates far beyond the limits of human logic. This is where the spiritual and the material begin to touch, where unseen forces align circumstances to respond to a deeply felt desire. A focused prayer becomes like a laser beam. It doesn't scatter energy, but directs it with precision. Many people spend hours in prayer yet find little transformation, not because heaven is silent, but because the heart is distracted. A minute of true faith, however, is stronger than an hour of scattered words. In those 60 seconds, the individual detaches from doubt and leans into total trust. The mind quiets, the heart speaks, and the spirit listens. The person who prays in this way is not merely asking, but aligning their inner vibration with divine abundance. Every word becomes an affirmation, every breath a declaration of belief. It is not about begging, it is about harmonizing with what already exists in the unseen. In that sacred minute, fear dissolves and faith takes control, allowing divine energy to flow unhindered. When one prays with this level of focus, the prayer begins to shape the atmosphere. It changes the way a person feels, speaks, and sees the world. Suddenly, new ideas appear. People are drawn into one's path, and opportunities seem to manifest effortlessly. A focused prayer also disciplines the soul. It demands intentionality. One must pause from the noise of life and step into a spiritual stillness. It is in that stillness that the whisper of divine guidance can be heard. The heart becomes sensitive, open to instruction and inspiration that often come as inner nudges. Many miracles that appear sudden are often the result of these small inner shifts caused by a focused connection. The more precise and consistent the focus, the greater the manifestation of the desired outcome. 60 seconds may seem short, but in the realm of faith, time bends. A single moment of true connection can achieve what years of worry cannot. The power of such prayer lies in its purity. It is stripped of showmanship, fear, and doubt. It does not depend on ritual, but on relationship. A focused prayer is the soul's declaration that it believes in divine provision and expects results. When a person prays this way daily, their spiritual energy begins to attract abundance like a magnet. Money, help, ideas, and favor begin to flow naturally because the person has moved from anxiety to assurance. Focused prayer reorders the unseen forces of life to cooperate with faith, and what was once impossible starts to unfold with divine timing. Secrecy as spiritual strength is one of the most underestimated yet powerful principles of manifestation and divine communication. When a person prays, the intention behind their words is sacred energy, and that energy requires protection from the noise and interference of the world. Keeping a prayer secret is not about hiding from others out of fear, but about safeguarding the purity of one's spiritual vibration. When a desire or prayer is shared too early, it becomes exposed to the doubts, opinions, and energies of others. Every word carries vibration, and when those around you question, mock, or even unintentionally doubt your prayer, the frequency of faith begins to weaken. Silence, therefore, becomes a shield. It keeps your spiritual focus pure and prevents the seed of faith from being uprooted before it grows. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness before it sprouts into light, so too must certain prayers remain in the quiet soil of your heart until their fruit appears in reality. Secrecy cultivates inner strength. When you hold your prayer within, you teach your spirit to rely not on human validation, but on divine confirmation. You begin to move from outward dependence to inward assurance. This inward confidence is what amplifies the energy of prayer. The person who keeps their request between themselves and the divine becomes less distracted by opinions and more anchored in belief. Silence becomes an incubator of power where faith matures away from the winds of doubt. In that hidden space, your energy is focused solely on connection, not explanation. Every time you revisit that secret prayer, it grows stronger because it exists only between you and the source of all provision. When a prayer is made public too soon, it becomes vulnerable to spiritual interference. Words of doubt, jealousy, or disbelief from others can unintentionally cast shadows on your faith. This is why ancient wisdom often teaches that sacred things lose their strength when exposed to unprepared ears. A secret prayer, however, operates like a hidden current beneath calm waters. It moves silently, yet powerfully, shaping outcomes without drawing attention. The energy that is preserved within you becomes a magnetic force, quietly aligning circumstances in your favor. People may not understand how things begin to shift for you, but it is because your spiritual energy has been protected, not scattered. Keeping a prayer secret also demonstrates discipline and humility. It acknowledges that the act of prayer is not about performance, but about presence. When you resist the urge to share every divine request, you signal to the universe that your faith is mature enough to trust in unseen processes. The most powerful manifestations often begin in silence. The world may see the result, but only you and the divine know the hidden conversation that brought it to life. This secrecy is not isolation. It is sacred intimacy. It allows divine energy to operate freely without human interference, turning quiet words into visible blessings and private faith into public testimony. Faith over formula is a truth that separates mechanical religion from living spirituality. Many people approach prayer as a set of steps, words, or rituals to be performed correctly. believing that if they follow a precise formula, their desires will be granted. But the divine does not respond to routine. It responds to faith. Words alone do not move spiritual power. Belief does. A person may repeat the most eloquent prayer, but if their heart is filled with doubt, those words fall flat. On the other hand, a single whisper of genuine faith can unlock doors that have been closed for years. Faith is the invisible key that fits every spiritual lock. It does not require performance, only conviction. It does not depend on how much one knows, but on how much one trusts. When someone prays with faith, they are not merely hoping that something might happen. They are standing in the certainty that it already exists in the unseen realm. This type of faith transforms prayer from a request into a declaration. It changes the tone of the heart. Instead of asking with fear, one speaks with confidence. Instead of pleading for help, one aligns with divine abundance and expects results. Faith-filled prayer carries a vibration that cannot be denied. It commands attention in the spiritual world because it mirrors divine certainty. The universe is built upon faith. Everything seen began from what was unseen. Therefore, when a human heart mirrors that same creative trust, it taps into divine order. Formulas, by contrast, often arise from fear. They are built on the idea that the right method guarantees a result, as if the divine were a machine that could be programmed. True prayer is not a transaction, it is a relationship. The person who prays with faith enters a conversation, not a contract. They are not trying to manipulate God, but to harmonize with divine will. That alignment brings peace, assurance, and clarity even before the physical manifestation appears. Faith changes the inner atmosphere first, and once that inner transformation happens, outer changes follow naturally. When someone truly believes, their emotions, words, and actions begin to reflect that belief. They speak differently, think differently, and expect differently. Faith over formula also means that prayer can be simple yet powerful. The strength of a prayer is not in its complexity, but in its sincerity. A person can stand silently for a minute and experience a miracle because their spirit is open and receptive. Another may chant for hours with no result because their heart is closed. Faith bridges the gap between human limitation and the divine power. It is the language that heaven understands even when words fail. When you choose faith over formula, you shift from relying on human effort to depending on divine grace. You stop trying to control the process and start trusting the promise. The formula may outline a method, but faith creates movement. It is the heartbeat of prayer and the essence of spiritual manifestation. The idea that 24 hours can symbolize immediate faith teaches that belief is not only about the future, but about the now. When a person prays and truly expects a change within a day, they are stretching their heart toward instant trust. This is not about forcing divine timing, but about awakening a consciousness that refuses to postpone miracles. Believing that something can happen within 24 hours trains the spirit to stop delaying faith until conditions look perfect. It shifts attention from waiting to receiving. Such faith breaks the habit of someday thinking and invites divine energy into the present moment. When you declare that change can come today, you create spiritual momentum. The atmosphere around you begins to align with your expectation because the energy of faith accelerates manifestation. Immediate faith teaches that divine response is not bound by human clocks. What takes years in human reasoning can unfold in a moment of divine intervention. When one believes that money, opportunity, or healing can arrive within a single day, they activate a vibration of readiness. The soul becomes alert, expectant, and open to receive. Faith in immediacy causes the mind to notice opportunities it once ignored and to act on small nudges that lead to provision. Belief sharpens perception. Often, blessings were always nearby, but they become visible only when faith removes the veil of doubt. Expecting within 24 hours means walking through the day with the awareness that divine help is already in motion. It is living with spiritual anticipation rather than anxious waiting. This kind of faith does not demand that the universe obey a human deadline. Instead, it declares that one's heart is fully available to divine timing. When a person sets their belief for 24 hours, they are not testing the divine, but testing their own readiness to receive. The time frame becomes a symbol of immediacy, a way to focus intention and gather spiritual strength. It breaks laziness of the spirit and calls for active participation in one's own miracle. A person who expects swift manifestation begins to act differently, more confident, more generous, more disciplined. Faith gives them the courage to move toward what they asked for, and that movement often becomes the bridge to their answer. The power of 24-hour faith lies in the transformation it creates within. It pushes doubt out of the mind and anchors the heart in gratitude, as if the prayer has already been answered. When gratitude rises before the result, manifestation follows more easily. Immediate faith keeps the heart awake and alive to the presence of divine supply. It says, I believe it can happen now, not because of desperation, but because divine power is timeless. When a person carries this mindset, time begins to work in their favor. What would have taken months can appear in a single day because belief opens the pathway. 24-hour faith is a symbol of spiritual urgency, a reminder that miracles respond to expectation and that divine provision is never late. It only waits for belief to become immediate. The spiritual law of receiving operates on the principle that gratitude and readiness create the right atmosphere for blessings to manifest. When a person prays for abundance, they are not simply asking for something external to appear. They are aligning their inner state with the vibration of what they seek. Receiving is not only an act, but a condition of the heart. It requires one to believe they are worthy of what they are asking for, and to prepare asking for it has already arrived. This inner posture of readiness is what draws provision closer. Gratitude strengthens that energy even more because it signals to the universe and the divine that you recognize goodness even before it fully manifests. To give thanks in advance is the highest form of faith. It tells the unseen world that your belief is not dependent on visible proof, and that confidence magnetizes abundance toward you. Many people pray for blessings, yet unknowingly resist them because they are not emotionally or mentally ready to receive. Their thoughts are filled with worry, unworthiness, or fear that it will not happen. This internal resistance blocks the flow of divine provision. The spiritual law of receiving teaches that what you are prepared for will find you. A farmer does not pray for rain without first planting seeds. In the same way, a person of faith does not ask for abundance without creating space in their life to contain it. Preparation is a silent declaration that you believe the answer is on its way. It might be organizing finances, clearing debts, learning new skills, or simply shifting mindset from lack to plenty. Each action becomes an open door for divine supply to enter. Gratitude amplifies this process. When a person practices thankfulness before, during, and after their prayer, their energy remains elevated. Gratitude dissolves impatience and anxiety, replacing them with calm assurance. The universe responds to this vibration because gratitude reflects harmony with divine flow. It says, I trust the timing. I trust the process. As gratitude expands, it changes one's perception, allowing them to notice opportunities, connections, and ideas that are part of the answer. Often, what people call miracles are simply the results of a heart that has stayed receptive long enough for blessings to appear. The spiritual law of receiving also teaches humility and stewardship. To receive is not to take. It is to accept with awareness and appreciation. True receiving comes with the understanding that every gift carries responsibility. The more one appreciates and uses what they have, the more they attract. The universe multiplies what is honored. A person who lives with constant gratitude and readiness does not chase blessings. They attract them naturally. Their energy signals to the divine that they are a reliable vessel for abundance. In this way, prayer becomes less about asking and more about aligning. When you live in a state of receiving, blessings flow continuously because your heart, mind, and actions remain open, grateful, and prepared for divine increase. The invisible hand of provision represents the unseen movement of divine energy that works beyond human sight and understanding to meet every genuine need. It is the mysterious way in which the universe, guided by divine intelligence, arranges people, opportunities, and circumstances to bring fulfillment to a heart of faith. When someone aligns their thoughts, words, and spirit with divine abundance, they begin to operate within this unseen flow. They no longer rely solely on logic or visible evidence because they understand that much of life's true activity happens in the spiritual realm first. Faith acts as the bridge between the invisible and the visible, drawing unseen help into material form. When a person trusts that they are being guided and provided for, even without seeing proof, they give permission for the invisible hand to move freely. This unseen force often works quietly, reshaping paths, opening doors, and arranging divine connections long before the answer becomes visible. This principle reminds us that provision does not always arrive in the form we expect. Sometimes it comes as an idea, a chance meeting, a sudden realization, or an unexpected opportunity. The invisible hand uses the most natural means to accomplish supernatural results. The person who stays spiritually alert will recognize that nothing is accidental. Even delays or detours may be divine strategies preparing something greater. The invisible hand of provision is constantly active, but it becomes noticeable only to those who cultivate awareness and gratitude. Faith acts as a spiritual lens that makes hidden movements clearer. When the heart is in harmony with divine order, coincidences multiply and favor begins to appear effortlessly. It is not manipulation or luck. It is divine orchestration responding to belief. This unseen flow also teaches surrender. When a person truly believes that an invisible hand is guiding their life, they release anxiety about control. They stop forcing outcomes and start trusting divine timing. This surrender does not mean passivity. It means inner peace while remaining diligent. It means working with faith rather than striving from fear. The more one releases control, the more freely the invisible hand can operate. Often, when people let go of worry, the answers appear almost immediately because their energy shifts from resistance to receptivity. The hand of provision cannot work effectively in a heart filled with fear, but it moves swiftly in a heart filled with trust. The invisible hand also mirrors the principle of spiritual reciprocity. When you give, serve, or speak positively, the same energy circulates back to you in multiplied form. This law is unseen but consistent. It ensures that acts of generosity never return empty. The universe functions in perfect balance, and the invisible hand keeps that balance by rewarding faith, patience, and gratitude. When a person learns to rely on this quiet but powerful force, life becomes less about struggle and more about flow. They begin to see how every need is already met, every delay carries purpose, and every blessing arrives exactly when the heart is ready to receive. Every word of this message leads to one truth. The power to transform your life lies within the way you believe, the way you pray, and the way you align with divine order. Prayer is not a ritual of words, but a conversation of faith. A sacred moment when the unseen begins to shape the seen. When you pray with focus, guard your intentions in silence. Believe with unwavering faith. Expect results without delay. Stay grateful and ready to receive. And trust the invisible hand that provides. You position yourself for miracles beyond your understanding. The spiritual world responds to certainty, not doubt, to gratitude, not fear. When your heart and words move in harmony with divine abundance, blessings begin to unfold in ways that seem impossible to human logic. What was once delayed starts to flow. What was hidden begins to appear. And what you have prayed for begins to manifest in perfect time. So, keep your faith alive. Speak your prayer for 60 seconds, but live in its energy all day. Protect your belief, stay expectant, and trust that divine provision is already moving toward you. What you believe with conviction, you will soon hold with gratitude. May your faith open doors that no one can close. May abundance find you in ways you never imagined. And may peace fill your heart as you walk in divine favor. Good luck on your journey of faith. And thank you for allowing this message to speak into your spirit. Your miracle is already on its way.